New package delivery strategies for e-commerce brands. Joining us today to speak about that, Rob Glover, Vice President of Sales at OSM Worldwide. Rob, it's great to see you. Welcome.
Thank you, Russell. It's great to be here.
Rob, we want to get right to it and talk about probably the biggest challenge that these e-commerce brands are facing these days. Let's talk about their delivery challenges. So walk us through that. What's going on there? What do you say?
Yeah, the biggest challenges today in the marketplace are the consumer expectations are evolving very quickly. You see the constant new things coming out, new options for delivery. So shippers are having a challenging time trying to keep up with all the new options that are available. And when something happens, it can cause a significant amount of issue within their organization to try to adhere to those new customer expectations. You also see a lot of capacity constraints in the marketplace today. So the pandemic has really forced people to really look at what is the volume of shipments that they send and how does that impact them throughout the year. So trying to match up their forecasts with the carriers that can handle their packages is becoming more of a challenge today.
Well, you know, we are entering the peak season, right? Holiday season is nigh upon us, and so that really ramps up the pressure on companies that need to be delivering. And so I guess the question is this: let's talk about the three most important considerations they have right now. So walk us through those. What would those be? Identify those for us.
Yeah, so the first would really just be back to the forecasting and making sure that the pandemic really forced the shippers to really look at the number of packages that they had to ship and making sure that the carriers that they were utilizing had the volume. They were allowed to ship the amount of volume that they needed. So capacity was one major issue that they have to make sure that they have covered. The second is really reliability. Peak season, it really stresses networks. The package delivery networks are very stressed during peak season. So making sure that the options that you as an organization are considering, they have the ability to flex up and handle a peak season surge that typically happens. We've seen in prior years where that's been a challenge for a lot of people. It missed a lot of consumers' expectations in those scenarios. And I think the final thing is really the cost. A lot of volume throws through a peak season, and brands and shippers have to be aware of the costs. The new norm is peak season surcharges. So making sure that you're trying to utilize the carriers, which it's still a good fit for you, and making sure that you're not going to break the bank, if you will, when you're dealing with trying to get all those packages that are needing to be delivered in the peak season.
It's my feeling that this particular holiday season may be even greater than the last one in terms of volume. So the considerations you just walked us through, are they even more important this year than last?
I think so. I think it's evolutionary, I think, to think about the way the options are available today that haven't been available in the past. And making sure that you have a really good multi-carrier strategy to try to adhere to those. For sure, this peak season, looking backwards, hopefully we've learned something from the peak seasons that we've already experienced and helping us prepare for the future.
Let's talk about then out of peak season. What are the considerations? What needs to be top of mind for shippers out of peak season?
Yeah, I think, as you really look at an annualized plan, peak season and then the non-peak season have a lot of similarities in what a logistics group might have to face. When you look at the non-peak season, I think reliability is probably one thing. The consumer experience today is very important to most brands, and making sure that the options that you choose as a shipper, you're making sure that you're able to adhere to that reliability factor, because people want to know when their packages are going to be delivered nowadays. It's not so much that they just want it as fast as possible. They just want to make sure that they know when it's going to be there. And as a brand, you want to make sure that you adhere to that experience.
It occurs to me there may be such a thing as multiple delivery peaks, multiple peaks throughout the year. Is that fair to say? Is that something we're actually seeing right now?
For sure. Yeah, you look at the traditional holiday peak season. That's obviously the easiest one to identify. But throughout the year now, we have the traditional change of season, mini peaks. A lot of times now we're also seeing a brand-induced peak season, like a flash sale, or like example would be a Prime Day, where a brand will come up with an idea that will significantly spike their volume in a short window of time. And it can be a challenge to make sure that your delivery partners are capable of handling that peak, just like they are during the holiday season. So yeah, definitely we're seeing multiple mini peaks throughout the year.
From the customer's perspective, what would you say is the most important aspect in terms of e-commerce delivery? What do you say?
Well, I think, when you look at the consumers I think today, they want a low-cost option for shipping, a lower or no-cost option for shipping. They want a reliable delivery, so they want to be able to know when the package is going to be delivered so that they can plan. They want visibility to the delivery of that package so that they can see how it's migrating from where it originated to the delivery address. And they also want that final mile experience to be within their expectation. One challenge for today is certainly as the number of options that are available for a delivery, for the final mile delivery, are growing for a brand to consider. You have to make sure that you're choosing a partner that creates a delivery experience that your consumer wants. Most of us aren't home when our packages are delivered a lot of times to our homes. So making sure that you're focused on the overall experience that your consumer might get by the carriers that you're choosing can have a dramatic impact on that.
Interesting, very, very interesting. Final question to you, Rob. For anybody who might not be entirely familiar with OSM Worldwide, tell us briefly, what does the company specialize in? What does it do, and what is it doing to enhance the operations of its client base? What do you say?
Yeah, so our value to the marketplace is really giving e-commerce brands as well as e-commerce shippers an option for, I'll call it a low value delivery window that is considered for a standard delivery. So when we think about a spectrum of slow and cheap and expensive and fast on the delivery spectrum, OSM plays a significant value for brands to consider that gives you a very reliable, low-cost option to make an e-commerce delivery to a person's home, to a residential address. And OSM, we specialize in folks that look for the delivery experience of the United States Post Office, as we are a work-share partner of the United States Post Office. So the final mile for our organization is always delivered by the USPS, which we've come to find from talking to our customers over the last 20 years that that delivery experience is in more demand today than it ever has been, as people value the 6-day-a-week delivery that the USPS does to the home.
No doubt about it, the customer experience is extraordinarily important. Rob Glover, OSM Worldwide, speaking with us today about successful strategies for delivery of e-commerce brands. Thank you for watching.